Hey everyone, this is Lori Delcradecki, and today I am going to talk to you about supporting your points in your public speaking, doing research and evidence gathering. So, this section is going to delve into finding credible sources to effectively incorporate evidence like statistics, examples, anecdotes, a testimony, anything that's going to strengthen those arguments. So the first thing you want to do is you always want to start with a compelling question um, or analogy like imagine trying to build a towering skyscraper, but you have no steel beams, no concrete foundation. You just have good intentions and hopeful wishes. What would happen? Is the daughter of a custom home builder, I would tell you it would crumble. Those brilliant ideas, your passionate purpose, your carefully crafted structure in a speech are exactly the same. No matter who you're talking to, whether it's in ministry, in your church, in, uh, like I run a widow's ministry, a ladies ministry, anything like that, or an audience. I've spoken at huge audiences, over 10,000 people and more, as well as small ones. And so it doesn't matter. You have to have that. Without that solid support, it would inevitably crumble, and it's going to leave your audience unconvinced as well as just uninspired. So next you want to introduce your topic and the significance of why you're even talking about it. And so, for example, today we're going to lay the bedrock of persuasive and informative communication. So supporting your points, research and evidence gathering. This is where your speech transcends mere opinion and transforms into a compelling, a credible, and a truly impactful message. It's about providing that substance that moves minds as well as hearts. And next, you want to state your goal for the session you're speaking on. So, for example, my aim today is to empower you to become an expert excavator of truth, to find credible sources, to understand different types of evidence that you might find, and strategically weave that evidence into your speeches, making your arguments not just heard, but believed. And so next, you want to briefly outline what you'll cover, very briefly. So for example, today we're going to explore the why behind the evidence. We're going to delve into the how of finding those credible sources, and then we're going to illuminate the what, the various powerful forms of evidence that you can use to fortify your message. So, the indispensable why. That's the power of the proof, building that credibility and trust. So, why do we need evidence? First and foremost, it's for our credibility. In an age saturated with information, your audience is constantly asking, can I trust the speaker or this pastor or this lady? Is what they're saying accurate? Is it solid? Is it well-cited evidence? Like your handshake. Is your handshake kind of lame? Or is your handshake shown with credibility? It tells your audience, I've done my homework. This isn't just my opinion. It's grounded in verifiable truth. And so enhancing clarity and understanding, that evidence isn't just about proving, it's about clarifying. So, a well chosen example, like a vivid anecdote or a stark statistic, it can make an abstract idea concrete as well as just understandable. It paints a picture for your audience that helps them grasp the concepts with greater ease. So, just like in reading the Bible, a lot of people might not understand it just reading it. But when you apply the principle to today's world, then that makes it relatable and understandable, but you still back it by the evidence of the Bible. So then next is increasing that persuasion and the impact you're going to give. So beyond understanding that the evidence is going to drive persuasion for you, whether you're just convincing someone to adopt a new idea or whether you're trying to convince them to take action. That data, the expert testimony, the compelling stories, they're all going to provide logical and emotional reasons to agree with you. They add that weight to your argument, which makes it harder to dismiss. And so then next you want to distinguish your opinion from fact. This is so crucial because without your evidence, your speech remains just your opinion. But with the evidence, it transforms into a well-reasoned argument. It's like that bridge from, I believe, to here's why you should believe it too. Right? And so the same thing, like I've done speaking engagements all over the world for almost 30 years. And so I have backups for that. I have that proof. I have that credibility. So the same thing in your speeches, you want to find that proof and that credibility to show for other people. And then the next section is the art of the hunt. Finding your credible sources, right? So obviously, the Bible is, if you're in ministry, it's going to be your number one source. But I even argue that in business, it's your number one source too. Back in 1993, when I started my business, I told God I would use it for Him if He would teach me and train me. And He did just exactly that. And I have used it for Him ever since. So the importance of credibility is, think about the vast ocean of information that's out there. And not all sources are created equal. So it's your responsibility as the speaker, the teacher, the trainer, to be that discerning investigator. The credibility of your sources is going to directly impact your credibility. So where do you dig? Where are some reliable sources? Well, one, like we said, Bible first, right? But where else? Like university libraries, you could look at scholarly journals, peer reviewed articles if it's in a business. You can also look at like reputable news organizations. A lot of times those can be swayed also, right? So you want to find reputable ones, and not all of them are, but we won't go into that subject. But major newspapers, don't know if there's that many anymore, but there's some online also, but news channels, news websites, they're known for their journalistic integrity, especially if you're looking at the right ones. And then, same thing, government publications, like official reports. I do a lot in the health industry also, and I will get things from the health government websites. Those statistics, that data from the government agencies. Other experts organizations, like publications or research that you establish from different think tanks, from other professional organizations and nonprofits, but that have deep expertise in their field. And then the good old books and encyclopedias. Could look those up. I have lots of books. I've been reading about a book a week for the last 30 years, almost 35 years now. And that's on top of my Bible reading and studying and things. And things that I listen to in the car. But so all that for foundational knowledge, but make sure, of course, you check your publication dates. You check the same thing, where you got them from, and make sure that they are credible places also. And so then some helpful tips for your credibility compass. So when you evaluate any source, you want to look up different things. Like, it's a quick framework to access the credibility. So like the currency, is the information up to date? The relevance, does it directly relate to your topic? The authority, where it comes from, who created it? Are they an expert? The accuracy of it. Is the information verifiable? Does it align with other reputable sources? And the purpose. Why was the information created? And like we talked about on some of the news channels and things, is there a bias? And so then you want to also avoid the common pitfalls. So be very wary of unverified social media posts, biased websites, or sources that just lack clear authorship. Always ask, who benefits from this information being presented in this way? Because a lot of places there's a certain agenda. So you want to make sure that it's accurate information. And then the types of support. So the power of numbers in statistics, they're very powerful. They provide concrete data to help you support claims. But make sure that you use them wisely. Keep it simple. Don't overwhelm your audience with too many numbers, words that they can't understand or say. Explain what the numbers mean and round them off unless the precision is vital. But make it easy, so instead of saying, for example, 23.7%, then you could just say a quarter, or you could say almost 1 in 4, or you could even just round it up to about 25%. Whatever that works for you, but make it, still true, but where it's not so precise, unless it's something that needs to be, right? And then illuminate your points. So you want to make any abstract ideas tangible. So for example, brief examples, you want to make them quick. You want to have illustrative instances. But then if they're extended examples, then you want to give more detailed narratives that fully illustrate a point. Or if it's a hypothetical example, fictional but plausible scenarios that's going to help your audience visualize. So example, if you're discussing the impact of innovation, you could mention the smartphone, right? How it's went from when, we didn't have them when I was younger to we had the big box suitcases to we had the Blackberries, and now we've got basically a little computer in our hand. And I've read reports of new things, we have the watches now where you don't even have to take your phone with you. And then I read something not long ago, coming soon, you can have your phone in your pocket. You could be talking on your phone. You don't have any earbuds in. it just works. So anyway, and then like anecdotes, humanizing your message. So anecdotes are short, but they're personal stories. So they add an emotional or a relatable touch. They're going to connect your audience with that human level, making your message more memorable as well as engaging. But you want to make sure that it's relevant and it serves your purpose, right? And then any testimonies, that's going to help lend authority. So testimonies are going to involve quoting or paraphrasing words of like an expert or a credible witness. And then you might have an expert testimony, like from recognized authorities in a field. Or you might have peer testimonies from ordinary people who just have firsthand experience. So, like, according to Dr. Jane Smith, a leading climatologist states that, or according to a recent survey of local small business owners. So those are just some examples. You know, you might have the expert testimony of a famous preacher who's passed away, and then you have a peer testimony from another preacher just from another church that um isn't that expert testimony, right? And so look at those also. And then you have um, you want to bridge the understanding for your comparisons and your analogies. So the analogies, like, they explain complex ideas. And so when you compare them to something familiar, they're going to help your audience grasp those new concepts by relating them to what they already know. So like my using the skyscraper earlier, right? And then if you can, have visual evidence. So you're not just showing, you are showing, you're not just telling. So in a Zoom like this, you could have uh, scenery behind you. You could interchange it with some pictures. You can even do a report and then where you're talking up in the corner. So there's lots of different ways. If you're in person, you could have charts and you could have graphs. Remember that, images, charts, graphs, short video clips, any of those could be powerful forms of evidence. And they can convey complex information quickly and visually, leaving a strong impression. But use them strategically, not just as a decoration. But remember the saying, a picture is 1,000 words, right? And so then next you want to go into the conclusion. And so you want to recap the information. So like here, recapping the importance of evidence. Today, we unpack the vital role of research and evidence. We've seen how incredible sources build trust, how various types of evidence enhance that understanding, and how they collectively elevate your speech, going from good intentions to a powerful impact. And then you want to reiterate the why. So never forget, your audience deserves more than just your opinion. They deserve a message that's fortified by truth, that's illuminated by examples, and supported by credible voices. So this commitment to evidence demonstrates respect for your listeners as well as for your own message. And then you want to have a motivational call to action. So as you prepare for your next speech, challenge yourself to be meticulous in research and discerning, gathering evidence. Go beyond the surface, dig deep, and emerge with the factual and illustrative bedrock that will make your words undeniable and your message unforgettable. And then leave them with an inspiring final thought. Most impactful speakers are not just great talkers. They are masters of truth telling, and they are armed with compelling evidence. So let your words not just be heard, but also believed, because they are built on the solid ground of well-supported facts. So that's it for this lesson. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much, everyone.